Hi, before we find out what happens next, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. It takes a second and really help us grow. Out of the story.
Derek Mitchell called off our wedding 3 weeks before the ceremony on a Tuesday night in April. We were supposed to get married on May 15th. The venue was booked, the invitations sent, the dress altered. My mother Patricia had died 6 months earlier, but she'd seen Derek propose, had told me how happy she was that I'd found someone who loved me. "I can't do this anymore," Derek said, standing in my apartment looking anywhere but at my face. "Can't do what? The wedding? We can postpone if you're overwhelmed." "No, I mean us. I can't marry you." The words didn't make sense. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 1, planned every detail of a life together. "Why? What happened?" "You're not financially stable enough for marriage. Your mother's death left you with responsibilities I didn't sign up for, and I can't build a future with someone who's drowning in estate issues and emotional baggage." "Estate issues? My mother left me her house and savings. That's not drowning. That's inheriting." "Your stepfather says you're contesting the will, that you're trying to take money that should go to him. That kind of family drama isn't what I want in a marriage." "Gregory told you that?" "When?" "We've talked a few times. He's concerned about you. Says you're not thinking clearly since your mother died." My stepfather, Gregory Ashford, had married my mother 8 years ago. I'd been 20 then, away at college, and by the time I came home for visits, he was already entrenched in her life. He'd been fine at first, polite, appropriate, seemingly supportive of Mom. But after she died, he'd become controlling about the estate, insisting everything should go to him as the surviving spouse, getting defensive when I asked about Mom's wishes. "Derek, Gregory is lying. I'm not contesting anything. I just want to make sure Mom's will is followed correctly. That's what contesting means. And I can't marry someone who's going to drag me into legal battles with her own family." He pulled the engagement ring off his finger, we'd gotten matching bands, and set it on my coffee table. "I'm sorry, Claire. I thought we could make this work, but you're not in a place to be a wife right now." He left before I could process what was happening. 3 years together, 1 year engaged, 3 weeks from our wedding. And he'd just walked out, citing financial instability I didn't have and family drama I wasn't creating. I called my best friend Nina Torres immediately. "Derek just broke up with me." "What? When?" 5 minutes ago. He said I'm not financially stable enough for marriage and that I'm too involved in estate drama with Gregory." "That's insane. You inherited your mother's house. You have a good job. What financial instability?" "I don't know. He said Gregory told him I was contesting the will and trying to take money from him." "Are you?" "No. I just asked Gregory for a copy of Mom's will because I wanted to see it. He got weird and defensive, said Mom wanted everything to go to him, that I should trust him. But I never contested anything. I don't even know what everything means. Mom told me before she died that the house would be mine. So why is Gregory telling your fiancé you're causing problems?" "I don't know." But apparently, Derek believed him over me. The next morning, I started making cancellation calls. The venue, the caterer, the florist. Each one cost me deposits I couldn't recover. Thousands of dollars gone because Derek had decided 3 weeks before the wedding that I wasn't good enough. The worst part was telling people why. Guests who'd already made travel arrangements, family who'd bought gifts, friends who'd planned the bridal shower. Derek called it off. He said I wasn't financially stable enough for marriage. Everyone was sympathetic but confused. I had a good job as a marketing director, owned a car, had savings. What instability was Derek talking about? Gregory called the day after Derek broke up with me. "Claire, I heard about the wedding. I'm so sorry. Did you tell Derek I was contesting Mom's will? I mentioned you had questions about the estate. He seemed concerned that you were creating unnecessary conflict. I asked to see the will. That's not creating conflict. That's normal when a parent dies. Your mother wanted me to handle everything. She trusted me to manage her affairs. Your questions implied you didn't trust me, and frankly, that hurt. I just wanted to see what she left me. She told me before she died that the house would be mine someday." "Plans change, Claire. Your mother's final wishes were that I receive her estate. I'm sorry if that's not what you expected, but those were her legal instructions. Can I see the will?" "It's with my attorney. I'll have him send you a copy when the estate is settled." He hung up before I could ask more questions. Something felt wrong. Gregory's defensiveness, Derek's sudden concerns about my finances, the timing of everything, Derek calling off the wedding right when I'd started asking questions about Mom's estate. But I was too devastated to investigate. Too heartbroken and humiliated to do anything but survive the cancellations and cry myself to sleep, wondering what was so wrong with me that Derek had left 3 weeks before our wedding. While I grieved my broken engagement, Gregory moved quickly to settle my mother's estate. 2 weeks after Derek left, Gregory called with an update. "The estate is finalized. Everything's been transferred to me as Patricia's surviving spouse." "Everything? What about the house?" "The house was in both our names. It's mine now. Mom told me she wanted me to have the house. She said it multiple times before she died. What people say when they're dying and what they put in legal documents are different things. The will clearly states that I inherit her property. Can I see the will now? I'll have my attorney send you a copy. But Claire, you need to accept this. Your mother made her choices. Challenging them won't bring her back." "I'm not challenging anything. I just want to understand." "You sound just like Derek described. Obsessed with money and inheritance instead of grieving your mother properly." The accusation stung. "Derek doesn't know how I'm grieving. He said you talked about the estate constantly, that you were more concerned about what you'd inherit than about your mother's memory. That's not true. Maybe you don't see it. Maybe the grief has twisted your priorities. But from the outside, Claire, you look like someone who can't let go of material things. That's why Derek left." After Gregory hung up, I sat in my apartment. The apartment I rented because Mom had always said the house would eventually be mine, and tried to make sense of his words. Had I been obsessed with inheritance? I'd asked about the estate maybe 3 times, asked to see the will twice. That wasn't obsession. That was normal. But Derek and Gregory were both saying the same thing, that I was creating drama, that I was too focused on money, that I wasn't grieving properly. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was being unreasonable. Nina came over that night with wine and pizza. "How are you holding up?" Gregory finalized the estate. He got everything. The house, Mom's savings, all of it. "Everything? What did your mom's will actually say?" "I haven't seen it yet. Gregory says his attorney will send a copy. But apparently Mom wanted Gregory to have everything." "And you believe that?" "I don't know what to believe. Mom told me the house would be mine. But she was sick when she said it. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe I misunderstood. Or maybe Gregory is lying. Why would he lie? He was married to Mom for 8 years. They had a life together. It makes sense she'd leave things to him. It makes sense she'd leave some things to him. It doesn't make sense she'd cut out her only daughter completely. Gregory says I can contest it if I want, but he also says it makes me look greedy and like I'm not grieving properly. Derek apparently agreed with that assessment. Derek doesn't get an opinion anymore. He bailed 3 weeks before your wedding. Because I wasn't financially stable enough, which is apparently code for too focused on her dead mother's estate. That's bullshit. You asked reasonable questions about your inheritance. That doesn't make you unstable or greedy. But I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe everyone else was right and I was wrong. Maybe I had been too focused on what I'd inherit. Maybe that's why Derek left. The will arrived a week later via email from Gregory's attorney. It was dated 2 months before Mom died, when she was heavily medicated and barely coherent. The document stated that Patricia Ashford left her entire estate, house, savings, personal property, to her husband, Gregory Ashford, with no mention of me at all. I read it 3 times trying to find some reference to me, some indication that Mom had remembered her daughter when making these decisions. Nothing. She cut me out completely, I told Nina over the phone. Or Gregory had her sign something when she was too sick to understand what it was. That's fraud. You're saying my stepfather committed fraud. I'm saying your mom told you the house would be yours, and then suddenly signed a will giving everything to Gregory when she was dying and medicated. That's suspicious, Claire. Contesting it would cost money I don't have, and everyone already thinks I'm greedy for asking questions. Who's everyone? Gregory and Derek? The 2 men who seem very invested in you not looking too closely at this will? She had a point. But I was too tired, too heartbroken, too defeated to fight. I let the will stand. Let Gregory keep everything. Let myself believe that maybe Mom had changed her mind, or maybe I'd misunderstood her final wishes. And I tried to move on from losing both my mother and my fiancé in the span of 6 months. 5 years after Derek left and Gregory took my mother's estate, I was 33 years old and finally feeling like I'd rebuilt my life. I'd been promoted to senior marketing director at my company. Bought a small condo, not the house Mom had promised me, but mine nonetheless. Dated occasionally, though I'd never gotten close to another serious relationship after Derek. The broken engagement had left scars deeper than I'd realized. The humiliation of canceling a wedding 3 weeks out. The whispers from mutual friends about me being difficult or financially unstable. The knowledge that the man I'd planned to marry had believed the worst about me without asking for my side. Nina had stayed my constant through all of it. She'd helped me move past the grief, encouraged the therapy, celebrated the promotion, and never once said, "I told you so," about Gregory's suspicious behavior with the estate. "How are you feeling about the anniversary?" she asked over coffee one Saturday. It was April again. 5 years since Derek had left. "Fine, actually. It doesn't hurt anymore. I'm glad he left before we got married. Better a broken engagement than a divorce. That's healthy growth. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of me too. I survived something that should have destroyed me, and I came out stronger." My phone buzzed with a text from Gregory. "Need to talk. Can you call me?" I hadn't spoken to Gregory in 4 years. After the estate was settled, we'd had no reason to maintain contact. He'd sent obligatory holiday texts I usually ignored. "Gregory wants to talk," I told Nina. "About what?" "No idea. Probably wants me to know he's selling Mom's house or something." I called him back that afternoon. "Claire, thank you for calling. I wanted to give you a heads up before you hear it elsewhere. I've been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. The doctors say I have maybe a year. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm getting my affairs in order, making sure everything is documented properly. I wanted you to know that I'm leaving the house to you in my will. It's what your mother would have wanted. The house, Mom's house, the one she'd promised me before she died, the one Gregory had taken through the will I'd been too broken to contest. Thank you. It's the least I can do. You're Patricia's daughter. The house should stay in the family." After he hung up, I sat with the conversation, trying to identify the feeling it produced. Not gratitude. Not exactly. More like vindication mixed with bitterness. Gregory was giving me what Mom had wanted me to have all along, but only after keeping it for 5 years. Only after profiting from it, living in it, controlling it while I paid rent elsewhere. 2 weeks later, I was cleaning out my home office, finally tackling the boxes I'd moved from my old apartment and never unpacked, when I found it. A USB drive I didn't recognize in a box marked "Derek Returned Items." Nina must have collected my things from Derek's apartment after the breakup. I'd been too devastated to do it myself. She'd brought me boxes of my belongings, and I'd shoved them in a closet without going through them. I plugged the USB drive into my laptop out of curiosity. It contained one folder, financial documents. Inside were bank statements, tax returns, investment accounts, all Derek's financial information. Why had this been with my things? Then I saw a subfolder, Gregory Communications. My stomach dropped. I opened it to find email threads between Derek and Gregory, dating back 7 months before our wedding, before Derek had broken up with me, before I'd started asking questions about Mom's estate. The first email was from Gregory. "Derek, we should talk about Claire's expectations regarding Patricia's estate. I'm concerned she may create difficulties during settlement." Derek's response. "She's mentioned a few times that her mother promised her the house. Is that going to be a problem?" Gregory, "It could be. Patricia's will leaves everything to me, but Claire may contest it. Having you as her fiancé complicates things. She might ask you to fund legal challenges. I'd like to discuss this over lunch if you're available." I scrolled through months of emails. Gregory and Derek meeting for lunch, discussing the Claire situation, strategizing about how to handle my expectations. Then, dated 3 weeks before our wedding, Gregory, "I think we need to implement the plan we discussed. Claire is asking more questions about the will. The longer we wait, the harder this becomes." Derek, "Are you sure? The timing is pretty brutal." Gregory, "The timing is perfect. She'll be too devastated to challenge anything. And you'll have your payout as discussed, $50,000 cash plus the business opportunity we discussed. You're young. You'll recover from a broken engagement easier than I'll recover from her contesting Patricia's will. Derek, when do you need me to do it? Gregory, this week. Tell her she's not financially stable enough for marriage. Mention the estate issues. Make it clear she's the problem, not you. I'll back up your story to family members. Derek, $50,000? Gregory, wired to your account the day after you break up with her. Plus, I'll introduce you to my business partners for the opportunities we discussed. I read the exchange 3 times, my hands shaking. Derek had been paid to leave me. Gregory had orchestrated my broken engagement to keep me too devastated to challenge Mom's will. They'd conspired to destroy my life so Gregory could steal my inheritance. I called Nina immediately. I found emails between Derek and Gregory. They planned everything. Planned what? The breakup. Gregory paid Derek $50,000 to call off our wedding 3 weeks before the ceremony. The whole thing was a setup to keep me too emotionally destroyed to contest Mom's will. What? Claire, send me the emails right now. I forwarded the entire folder, heard Nina reading through them on the other end of the line, her occasional gasps of outrage punctuating my explanation. This is fraud. This is conspiracy. Claire, this is multiple felonies. Gregory offered Derek money and business connections to break up with me strategically so I'd be too heartbroken to fight the will. And Derek took the deal. They both profited from destroying me. We're calling an attorney. Right now. Today. Rebecca Morgan, the attorney Nina recommended, met with me Monday morning. She read through the emails with the expression of someone encountering something unusually egregious, even by legal standards. These emails constitute clear evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud. Your stepfather orchestrated the end of your engagement to prevent you from challenging your mother's will. Your ex-fiancé accepted payment to execute that plan. Both men are legally liable. For what, specifically? Fraud, conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, possibly undue influence regarding your mother's will. How much was your mother's estate worth? I don't know exactly. The house was probably worth $300,000 5 years ago. Plus, savings, investments, maybe $500,000 total? And Gregory took everything by claiming your mother wanted him to have it, then paid your fiancé to break up with you before you could challenge that claim. Yes, we can sue both of them. The case is strong. You have documentation of their conspiracy, proof of payment, explicit discussion of the plan to emotionally devastate you. This is about as clear-cut as fraud cases get. What happens if we win? Gregory's estate, including the house and anything left from your mother's assets, should revert to you as rightful heir. Derek would owe restitution for the money he accepted and the damages his actions caused. You'd likely be awarded additional damages for emotional distress. Gregory is dying. He has maybe a year. That doesn't absolve him of fraud. If anything, it makes pursuing this now more urgent. You want judgment before he dies, not after when the estate is tied up in probate. I thought about 5 years of believing I wasn't good enough for marriage. 5 years of thinking my own mother had cut me out completely. 5 years of grief and self-doubt while 2 men who claimed to care about me conspired to steal my inheritance. File the lawsuit. Both of them. Rebecca drafted the complaint that week. I reviewed it with something approaching awe at seeing my suffering translated into legal language. Plaintiff Claire Ashford alleges that defendants Gregory Ashford and Derek Mitchell conspired to fraudulently deprive her of inheritance by orchestrating the end of her engagement at a strategically timed moment to prevent challenge to a will executed under suspicious circumstances. The evidence was damning. The emails alone proved conspiracy. But Rebecca also gathered supporting documentation. The will dated when Mom was heavily medicated. Bank records showing the $50,000 transfer from Gregory to Derek. Statements from Mom's friends confirming she'd talked about leaving me the house. We filed in civil court, suing both men for $750,000, the estimated value of Mom's estate plus damages for 5 years of emotional distress caused by their fraud. Derek's attorney called 2 days later. My client is willing to settle. He'll return the $50,000 and sign a statement confirming the conspiracy if you'll drop the lawsuit against him. He accepted $50,000 to break my heart on command. Why would I settle for just returning the money? Because he can't afford more than that, and he's prepared to testify against Gregory Ashford in exchange for leniency. I discussed it with Rebecca. Derek turning on Gregory could strengthen your case significantly. Having him confirm the conspiracy under oath, detailing the payments and plan, that's powerful testimony. So, Derek gets off easy? He returns the money, publicly admits he was paid to dump you, and testifies against Gregory. That's not exactly getting off easy. And his testimony destroys Gregory's defense. I accepted the settlement. Derek returned $50,000 plus interest, $63,000 total. Signed a statement admitting Gregory had paid him to end our engagement. Agreed to testify that the entire breakup had been orchestrated fraud. Gregory's attorney tried to dismiss the lawsuit, arguing the statute of limitations had passed on the will contest. Rebecca shut that down immediately. The fraud was concealed. My client only discovered the conspiracy 2 months ago. The statute of limitations begins when fraud is discovered, not when it was committed. The judge agreed. The case would proceed to trial. Gregory called me personally, his voice weaker than I remembered. "Claire, can we talk before this goes any further? What's there to talk about? You paid my fiancé to leave me so I'd be too devastated to challenge Mom's will. That's fraud, Gregory. That's conspiracy. I was protecting what your mother wanted. Mom wanted me to have the house. She told me that multiple times. You had her sign a will when she was dying and medicated, then orchestrated my broken engagement to make sure I wouldn't challenge it. You stole my inheritance and destroyed my engagement to do it. The cancer is spreading. I'm dying, Claire. Can't we settle this as family? You stopped being my family when you paid Derek to break my heart." The trial began on a cold morning in November, 5.5 years after Derek had walked out of my apartment, citing financial instability that never existed. Gregory looked terrible, cancer-thin, pale, moving slowly. Part of me felt guilty for putting a dying man through trial. The rest of me remembered the emails plotting my devastation. The prosecution laid out the case methodically. The emails between Gregory and Derek, the $50,000 payment. The suspicious will signed when Mom was heavily medicated. Derek's testimony confirming the entire conspiracy. Derek took the stand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mr. Mitchell, did Gregory Ashford pay you to end your engagement to Claire Ashford?" "Yes. He offered me $50,000 in business connections if I'd break up with her 3 weeks before our wedding." "Why that specific timing?" "Gregory said Claire was asking questions about her mother's estate. He wanted her emotionally devastated so she wouldn't challenge the will. 3 weeks before the wedding was calculated to cause maximum damage while making me look like the bad guy instead of him." "What reason did you give Claire for ending the engagement?" "I told her she wasn't financially stable enough for marriage, that she was too focused on estate drama with Gregory. All things Gregory told me to say." "Did you believe those things were true?" "No. Claire had a good job and savings. She wasn't creating drama. She was asking legitimate questions about her mother's will. But Gregory paid me to make her believe she was the problem." "How did you feel about taking that money?" Derek was quiet for a moment. "Honestly? At the time, I rationalized it. $50,000 was more than I made in a year. Gregory made it sound like he was protecting his wife's memory and that Claire was being unreasonable. But I knew I was hurting someone who loved me for money. I knew it was wrong. Why didn't you tell Claire the truth later?" "Because then I'd have to admit what I'd done. It was easier to let her believe she wasn't good enough than to admit I'd sold our relationship for $50,000. The courtroom was silent when Derek stepped down. He didn't look at me. Probably couldn't. Gregory's attorney tried to argue that the will was legitimate regardless of Derek's conspiracy. Patricia Ashford had the right to leave her estate to whomever she chose. Even if Gregory's behavior regarding the engagement was reprehensible, that doesn't invalidate her legal will. Rebecca countered with Mom's friends testifying about her repeated statements that the house would go to me. Medical records showing she'd been heavily medicated when the will was signed. A handwriting expert questioning whether Mom had been physically capable of signing so clearly given her condition at that date. Patricia Ashford's true final wishes were expressed to friends and family repeatedly. She wanted her daughter to inherit the house. The will signed 2 months before her death, when she was medicated and barely conscious, contradicts those wishes. Gregory Ashford manipulated a dying woman into signing documents that benefited him, then orchestrated the destruction of his stepdaughter's engagement to prevent her from challenging those documents. This is systematic fraud. The defense called Gregory to the stand. He looked frail, spoke softly, played up his terminal diagnosis. I loved Patricia. Everything I did was to honor her memory and protect the life we built together. If Claire feels wronged, I'm sorry. But I never intended to hurt her. Rebecca's cross-examination was surgical. Mr. Ashford, these are emails you sent to Derek Mitchell planning to pay him to break up with your stepdaughter. Can you read this section aloud? Gregory read with obvious reluctance. The timing is perfect. She'll be too devastated to challenge anything. Does that sound like someone who didn't intend to hurt Claire? I meant devastated by the breakup, not you orchestrated the breakup. You paid Derek Mitchell $50,000 to end his engagement to Claire 3 weeks before their wedding, specifically to make her too emotionally destroyed to challenge your claim on her mother's estate. Is that correct? I was protecting Patricia's wishes. Patricia told at least 6 people that her daughter should inherit the house. We have sworn testimony to that effect. Yet you claim she wanted you to have everything? People say things. Legal documents matter. Legal documents signed by heavily medicated dying women? Documents you rushed through probate while your stepdaughter was emotionally devastated by a breakup you paid for? Gregory had no good answer. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They returned with a verdict. Gregory Ashford and Derek Mitchell had conspired to defraud Claire Ashford of her rightful inheritance through orchestrated emotional devastation. The will signed by Patricia Ashford was executed under undue influence and should be voided. Damages awarded, $650,000. The current value of the estate, plus compensation for emotional distress and loss of use of inherited property. Gregory was ordered to transfer the house and all remaining estate assets to me immediately. Derek's $63,000 settlement would be credited against the total. Standing in the courtroom hearing the verdict, I felt 5 years of pain finally lifting. They'd conspired to destroy me, and they'd lost. Gregory died 3 months after the trial, never having fully complied with the court order to transfer assets. His estate went into probate, and Rebecca fought to ensure I received what the court had awarded. It took another 6 months, but eventually I gained possession of my mother's house, now legally mine, plus the remaining savings Gregory hadn't spent during his 5 years of fraudulent ownership. Total value, $580,000 after legal fees and estate settlement costs. Derek's life unraveled in different ways. The trial had been public. Local news covered it extensively. Man paid to break engagement in inheritance conspiracy made for compelling headlines. Derek's name, face, and actions were everywhere. His girlfriend at the time, he'd been dating someone seriously for 2 years, left him within a week of the trial ending. She posted on social media, "Just learned my boyfriend was paid $50,000 to dump his previous fiancé as part of a fraud scheme. We're done. I can't trust someone capable of that." The business opportunities Gregory had promised never materialized. The connections had been mostly Gregory's friends, all of whom wanted nothing to do with Derek after the fraud was exposed. Derek's employer, a financial services firm, quietly let him go. Integrity concerns, they said. Hard to work in financial services when you're publicly known for accepting payment to defraud someone. He tried calling me once, 6 months after the trial. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Claire, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I did. I took money to hurt someone I loved because it was easier than being poor. That's unforgivable, and I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I destroyed, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." I deleted the voicemail without responding. His regret didn't change 5 years of believing I wasn't good enough. 5 years of wondering what was wrong with me that my fiancé had left and my mother had cut me out. Nina helped me move into Mom's house, my house now, on a Saturday in spring. How does it feel to finally have this? Strange. I should have had it 5 years ago. Mom wanted me to have it, but Gregory stole it, and I spent 5 years thinking she'd chosen him over me. She didn't. He manipulated her when she was dying, then manipulated your entire life to cover up the fraud. And Derek helped him. Derek chose money over you. That says everything about his character and nothing about your worth. I'd been in therapy for 8 months, working through the layered betrayals. The therapist kept emphasizing what Nina was saying. The conspiracy revealed their flaws, not mine. But some wounds heal slowly. The house was beautiful. Mom had kept it well, and Gregory hadn't changed much. I found some of her things in the attic, boxes he'd never sorted through. Photo albums, my childhood artwork, letters she'd written to me over the years. One letter, dated a month before she died, said simply, "Claire, the house is yours. I've told Gregory this repeatedly. Make sure he remembers. I love you, Mom." She'd known. She'd known Gregory might try to keep it, and she'd tried to protect me with that letter. If only I'd found it before Gregory had her sign his fraudulent will. If only Derek hadn't taken his payment and destroyed my ability to fight back. If only. But dwelling on what-ifs didn't change anything. The house was mine now. The money was mine. Gregory was dead. Derek was unemployed and disgraced. The conspiracy had been exposed. Justice, however delayed, had been served. I hung Mom's letter in my new home office, a reminder that she'd wanted this for me, that Gregory and Derek's fraud had only delayed what was always supposed to be mine. 5 years after the trial, I was 38 years old and living in the house my mother had always intended for me. I'd renovated slowly, updated the kitchen, repainted, made it mine while keeping pieces of Mom throughout. Her favorite chair in the living room. Her garden flourishing in the backyard. Photos of us together in every room. The house was worth significantly more now, around $450,000 in an appreciating market. Plus the money from Gregory's estate had been invested wisely. I was financially secure in ways I'd never imagined. Nina came over for dinner one Saturday. She'd gotten married 2 years ago, was expecting her first child in 3 months. "How are you feeling about everything? The anniversary of the verdict was last week." "I'm good. Really good. It doesn't hurt anymore. It's just part of my history now. The thing that happened, the thing I survived, the thing that taught me people aren't always what they seem." "Have you heard anything about Derek?" "Someone told me he moved to a different state. Couldn't find work here after the trial publicity. I think he's doing sales or something now. Definitely not finance." "Good. He deserves to struggle after what he did." "Maybe. Or maybe he learned something and became a better person. I don't really care either way. He's not my problem anymore. I'd started dating again 2 years ago. Nothing serious yet. I was cautious now, slower to trust, more careful about people's motivations. But I was open to the possibility of love again. The doorbell rang. A delivery driver with flowers. There's no card," I told Nina, examining the bouquet. "Secret admirer?" My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hope you like the flowers. Would love to take you to dinner sometime if you're interested." Marcus was someone I'd met at a work conference 3 months ago. We'd talked for hours, exchanged numbers, texted occasionally. He knew nothing about my history with Derek and Gregory. Just knew me as Claire, the woman who made him laugh. "That's promising," Nina said, reading over my shoulder. "Maybe. We'll see." "I'm not in a hurry." "Good. You shouldn't be. But eventually, you deserve someone who values you." "I know. I've learned that lesson the expensive way." Later that evening, sitting on my back porch watching the sunset over Mom's garden, I thought about the journey from that awful Tuesday when Derek had walked out to this peaceful Saturday evening in a house I'd fought to reclaim. Gregory was gone, having died knowing he'd been caught and humiliated. Derek was somewhere building a different life, carrying the reputation of someone who'd sold a relationship for money. Both men had paid for their conspiracy. Gregory with his last months, Derek with his career and prospects. I'd paid too, in different ways. 5 years of grief and self-doubt. 5 years of believing lies about my worth. Therapy bills and legal fees and nights crying over people who'd never actually loved me. But I'd won. Not just the legal victory, though that mattered. I'd won by surviving, by rebuilding, by refusing to let their betrayal define my entire story. The house was mine. The money was secure. My life was rebuilt on foundations stronger than before. And when I was ready, really ready, I'd let someone new in. Someone who valued honesty over money, who chose relationship over conspiracy, who saw my worth without needing to be paid to stay. My phone buzzed again. Marcus. No pressure on dinner. Just wanted you to know I think you're pretty amazing. I smiled and typed back, dinner sounds good. How about next Saturday? Life was good, not perfect, still processing, still healing, still learning to trust again. But good, real, mine, and nobody could take that away.